Hey, it's Brett, and you are watching Brett and Some Books. This is the Bosnia list by Keenan Trebenchevich and Susan Shapiro, and this is the Postscript. In Dreams Begins Forgiveness. Queens, New York, January 2012. 6 months later, I had another dream, this one about my mother. In the 5 years she'd been dead, I'd only dreamt about her sick, in pain, emaciated and hairless, as she'd been during her final decade in America. But last night, my mind had restored her to health. She regained all the weight she'd lost. She was young again, completely strong and healthy, with long golden blonde hair the color of lilies from our flag's fleur-de-lis. I was leading her through our old Birchcow neighborhood, giving her a tour. Is everybody coming? She sounded excited. Yes. See all the freshly painted white houses? I asked her in Bosnian. Remember when we walked through those ghost streets during the war? The last time we were in this neighborhood where she'd grown up, we were returning from the dentist after the area had been bombed. Hot blue flashes exploding in the sky, leaving the houses roofless. The residents were dead or gone. The remaining walls were pockmarked by bullet holes, like standing slices of Swiss cheese. You could see inside. But now everything was new, beautifully rebuilt. As Mom and I went down the hill and crossed the bridge together, I yelled, "The whole family will be here, Grandma Emina too." My voice echoed. I spun her to our old apartment, a 20-minute walk in seconds. "It's so great you're back," said a Bosniak neighbor who used to live across the street from Grandma. "You should have come last year." "I couldn't, I was dead," my mother said. Their conversation felt rushed, as if we didn't have enough time. Then, all of a sudden, we were swept up to the balcony of our Birchcow apartment. We were on the top floor, the tallest building within miles. "See, they're all running away." I looked down at our old enemies, happy to watch them leaving with tattered, pathetic suitcases in their hands. They stared up at us with fear. "The tables have finally turned, and I lived to see it happen," Mom said. "The town is 100% in our hands, not divided anymore," I replied. Mom smiled, but then she pulled me toward an abandoned cobblestone building, the warehouse in Luka, where Eldon and Dad were taken. The structure was getting smaller as we approached. It was the size of a kiosk by the time we stood in front of it. "Why did they build new homes around here, yet leave this monstrosity? It's so dark and creepy," Mom said. "As a reminder," I told her gently. "Everything is close and small because you're all grown up now," were the last words she said. I woke up and blinked, confused. Above my desk in Queens, I saw a picture of me, Dad, Eldon, crossing the Sava Bridge into Bosnia last year. Next to it was a black and white photograph of Mom when she was my age, looking through binoculars. I'd found typed recipes of Bosnian desserts she'd left, yet I was never able to find the pages about our escape that my mother planned to write. She must have been too tired or too sick by then, or perhaps it was too hard for her to remember. It was time for me to finish her story and tell my own. She'd once yelled, "Enough with the sports already! Can't you stay inside and read a book?" She would be shocked and thrilled that I was writing one. On the day I finished the first draft of the Bosnia list, a white mailer showed up at my Astoria mailbox, addressed to Abisa Trebenchevich, although she'd never lived in Queens and had died 5 years before. Inside was a book about Muslims who had supernatural powers. Normally, I'd assume it was a promotion sent to everyone with an Islamic-sounding name to toss in the garbage, but I took it as a sign, for a few seconds anyway, that she was sending me her approval. I thought of all the sacrifices my parents made for me. Had I ended my journey by avenging the people who'd betrayed our motherland, I would have failed her. I pictured being thrown into a Balkan jail, causing an international upheaval, leaving Eldon and Dad to fly back to Queens without me. That might have given my father another stroke. It could have killed him. Instead, by tempering my anger the way he taught me, my world view was altered. After visiting my hometown, I saw that the neighbors and classmates who'd turned on us were struck too, but they were mired in the aftermath of their weakness and bad decisions, grappling with the lousy economy, political chaos, personal confusion, irrevocable regrets. They hated their lives. They were worse off in peace than I was during wartime. For 2 decades, I'd been clinging to my rage over what the Serbs did to us. The resentment might never fully disappear. After all, I had just dreamed of sharing the battle victory we were never allowed. I couldn't change my subconscious. Yet during my trip to Bosnia, giving up on getting real revenge, something internal was repaired. I came back more trusting and hopeful. Returning to New York, I realized that if we'd never been exiled, Eldon and I would be running Dad's sports business in the Balkans, coasting by on his good name. We'd be married to local girls in the town where we grew up, knowing only one language and culture. While I didn't choose this rougher, more complicated route, I relished my double identity, being bilingual, traveling the world. Here, to be a Bosnian Muslim, I was also privileged to be American. Here, I was able to turn my childhood passion for sports into a solid career in a healing profession where helping others made me stronger. Close friends and colleagues of all backgrounds were sensitive to my past and respected me. I was beginning to feel more lucky than bitter. In retrospect, there are many ways I did win the war. My war. Eldon said that everything Mom told us while we were trying to escape Birchkow turned out to be true. Now, 5 years after we lost her, I recalled her insistence that in all religions and races, you could find those who were both good and evil. I heard my mother's voice echo, "Don't ever forget the people who saved us." There weren't many, was my first thought, but I could suddenly see that there were exactly enough to keep us alive. I went to my desk, pulled out a piece of paper, and started another list. This one was filled with names of the Serbs who only saw a family in need and came to our rescue. I retraced the trail of guardian angels who'd watched over us during that harrowing year, leading us to safety. 2 decades later, the faces of the Serbs who'd helped us survive resurfaced on a flourish. It felt like an affirmation of my mother's faith that even during the most tragic times, there were flickers of goodness that must be remembered. It was her final, unexpected gift to me. The new Bosnia list, the Serbs who saved us. 1. Obrin, who warned Dad and Mujo away from Partizan Sports Hall. Stevo, the volleyball player who discreetly confiscated Dad's revolver so he wouldn't be taken away for good. Zorica and Miloš, who brought us canned beef and sardines when we were starving, filled our empty propane tank, and gave us shillings for Vienna. Ranko, the convicted war criminal, who made sure Eldon and Dad were not hurt at Luka. Ankicha, who once took me to her apartment to give me coffee, sugar, and flour. Jika, the soldier who made Igor stop bullying me. Jovo, my mother's co-worker, who held the bus until she got papers to keep Dad and Eldon from going to a second concentration camp. 2 officers, that same day, who drove Mom from the police station to the bus Eldon and Dad were waiting to be taken away on. Kolch Boshko, the half-Serb, half-Bosniak, who checked on us and brought us bread. The older man who drove us to a potato shop to get our passports taken. Good Perro, who made phone calls on our behalf and personally typed my mother the paperwork we needed to get out of the country. And the last bus driver who waited for us in a blizzard to drive us to Vienna and our freedom. And that is the book. Thank you.